Hey, what's going on, everybody? So my voice is like kind of slowly finally coming back, but it's still a little sore when I try to like push too hard, so I gotta kind of still keep it chill in this video. But anyway, about a week ago at this point, I can't take any credit for this idea. The idea for this video was actually one of the moderators in my Discord server, Shira, an absolutely lovely human being. Thank you so much for this amazing idea. But basically her idea was to have everybody in the Discord server send their favorite gaming memories to a dedicated channel in the Discord server, and then whoever I thought, just whichever one resonates with me the most, whoever I think the winner is, then wins like a, a free game. If you'd like to be featured in future videos or future giveaways or future just anything, go ahead and join the Discord server. There's a link in the description of every single video, and in the case of this video, I'll leave a pinned comment down below so you can join us, join the community, and we have like over 100 members in there. I'm pretty active in there, so if you want to chat with me directly or just be a part of the community and be a part of stuff like this, that's the best way to do it. But anyway, here we are in the Shira giveaway channel. So we'll start things off with Big Daddy Matty 45, which is actually one of the other moderators. I don't know if I should even include this. No, I'm just kidding. He said, I doubt I'll be able to play it on my shitty laptop, but I'll enter anyway. One of my favorite moments is back in 2018 to 2019. At Grotesque's house, it was me, him, and one or two other friends. We were all chilling, listening to music, hanging out, and playing the new Mortal Kombat, which at the time would have been Mortal Kombat 11. That came out, we were all taking turns until things got heated, and Grotesque started to rage and curse something very unusual for you guys today, but very common for me back then. But I enjoyed it because we were all together having fun and creating memories. I do have a video of it, which will never be released unless Boss says so. Boss is me. Everybody calls me Boss in the server. Boss says so, but hey, it's the small things for me. So yeah, unfortunately, I can never, in any of the 9 realms or any of the alternate timelines, will that video ever be able to be released. Do I wish I could release it? Kind of, because it was kind of funny. Could I? No. I was a degenerate human being back in those days. So yeah, we're just gonna move on from that one. Great story, by the way. The next story comes from Hated, or HX Hated. It's yeah, we're supposed to pronounce that. Spoilers. I would, but I am just a solo player, so I don't know if this counts. I've been a solo player for 10-ish years, and I can't really remember a moment that I enjoyed with friends, but I do remember the first time I got to experience a 3D game that just made my jaw drop. It was 2020. Cyberpunk 2077 just released. I just entered my senior year in high school, and I just started to grow out of MP-style games, Call of Duty, Halo, Gears of War. It was the moment that UV had the choice at the end of the base game to choose between taking your life into your own hands, bringing Arasaka Tower to its knees by letting Johnny take over your body, or side with Arasaka to purge Johnny from the soul killer chip in our head, basically killing Johnny in that moment. On the rooftop, gun in hand, we had 3 choices. 1, die by our own hand. 2, repeat what we saw Johnny do to the tower in 2023, or bank on Arasaka saving our life at the cost of Johnny's life/soul. I've never cried due to a game from the music that plays in that moment due to the major choice I had to make, and knowing that no matter what I do, someone is going to die. I naturally chose the number 1 option because Johnny was Batman trying to live out of fear and spite, and Weevee had no more time, so why not take fate into my own hands? While TLDR, sometimes great games make us question our own morals and do not need to have a happy ending to be so great. Sorry for the rant. So actually, I can kind of add to this. So back in 2022, because I played Cyberpunk 2077 back at launch, I played it on base Xbox One. It was a really buggy experience, so I just decided to come back at a later time when it was fixed up. I did that back in April 2022, and I've said this before, while yes, oh, there's my guitar pick, dude, I was looking for it, I just saw it sticking out from under my keyboard. Anyway, while yes, Resident Evil 4, the original one, is my favorite game of all time, the time I spent in Night City that week, right, because this was in the middle of my eating disorder recovery, so I was like a vegetable. All I could do was sit in front of the TV all day. I played nothing but Cyberpunk 2077 for a week straight. I went through 100% of the game. I literally, so not only did I beat the game, do all the side quests, but I went back to get literally every single ending and every variation of it just so I could say that I did it. But the first ending I got was the one that he mentioned where you have to take your own life. And excuse my language, that ending fucked me up so bad, dude. Like, I was literally, that's part of why I ended up going back to get all the other endings, because I was like, I'm not ending on that note. Like, I'm sorry, I just refused. So I went back, got every single ending. I must say, my favorite, if I could like combine my favorite Cyberpunk timelines, it would be a timeline where you could romance Judy and get the ending that you get with Panam when you romance her as Male V, but with Judy instead, because Judy's like my wife. We won't talk about that. She doesn't even swing that way, so that sucks. But getting back on track, yeah, that week that I spent in Night City is truly like the best week from my life. Like that if I could think of my favorite time for my life, that would be it right there. Cyberpunk is such an amazing game, man. Such an amazing story, by the way. Like, I love reading stuff like this. Yeah, Cyberpunk is genuinely one of my top 5 favorite games of all time. It is so good. Next up, we have a story from What the Flip Man. So, this is a bit of a lengthy one, so strap in, folks. I wouldn't know if this is my favorite gaming memory per se, but this moment really meant a lot to me. I'm 15, and I've always had a very close relationship with my 5 years younger brother. Growing up, me and him were inseparable, but recently I felt like I've grown up too much. I often reminisce upon these beautiful core childhood memories of me and my brother, and I would worry that it's all over. I was worried that I'm just too old to hang around with my little brother, and that the last core memories of me and my brother would be from years ago. To sum it up, I felt like I'd grown up too much to create those lifelong memories of my younger brother. About 3 or 4 months ago was spring break, and that time me and my brother were reminiscing about the game series Little Big Planet. This was because around 2021, me and my little brother would spend all day every day playing the same set of community levels together. This is what I mean by a core memory, something that we will never forget. However, the servers were shut down around 2023, and me and him had to come to the terms with the fact that we could never experience those memories again. However, we still decided to boot up the PS3 and play through the story modes of the first 3 games together. We would spend most of the day playing through the levels together and getting into all sorts of stupid shenanigans. After beating the second game, I did a little research and found out that it was possible to play those old community levels. We just needed a PS3 copy of Little Big Planet 3, which we both ended up getting. We were only hoping to try out a few levels that we had used to play, which we did, and it was a blast. We played levels like SpongeBob Train Bomb Survival and Mortal Kombat Gummy Bear. Although we both doubted it would work, we decided to see if my brother's old levels were archived, and by God's finest miracle, they were all there. Me and him ended up crying of joy together, though I tried to hold it in. It felt like I could see myself as I was when I was 11 and my brother 7. We spent the rest of the break playing together, but time soon came and school was back and we stopped playing. It was a great time, sure, but it was just like any other time I do something with my brother. Though now, months later, I think back and I realize that we had created a lifelong memory. I will never forget those 2 weeks of my life and how they made me feel. Now I long to go back. Ultimately, I realized I will never be too old to feel like a kid again, and there's no such thing as too old to make a lifelong memory. Damn sure, right, dude, right, like that is just everything right there. Like I won't lie, I did skim through this, so I kind of knew what to expect reading that one. I didn't read it like to the full extent though, but like I remember the first time I skimmed through this, it literally made me tear up because that is so beautiful. But that little sentiment right there of like you're never too old to create a lifelong memory, like that is so true, and that's something that I've had to learn in recent times, especially, right, because now that I've been in my 20s for a few years, and it just feels like time keeps passing and I'm just getting older, shit keeps happening. It's easy to get caught up in the ever-evolving momentum of life, right? Where it kind of just feels like a snowball where it just gets crazier and crazier. But, it doesn't matter how much time passes. I hate the saying, oh, just grow up, or oh, you're too old for this. Because, bitch, I don't care if I'm, my 20s now, bro. I'll watch SpongeBob. I'll eat ice cream before bed. I'll build Legos. I'll binge Dragon Ball all day. I'll play as many video games as I want. I'll go swing on the swings. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do what I want. Who cares how old you are? Since when? Why should age be a restriction on fun? Just because an arbitrary amount of time has passed, and just because you've been alive for an arbitrary amount of time, and now there's an arbitrary number attached to you, like, why should any of that determine whether or not you're allowed to have fun or do certain things? Like you know what I mean? And it really just does take these moments where, say, you go and boot up a PS3 again, and you grab, you go buy some copies of games that you used to play, and then play them, whether you're playing by yourself or with people that you used to play the games with, just, getting back into these experiences. And that's part of why I love video games so much, because they truly are a time capsule, not just in themselves of like, okay, this is like a time capsule of like when this game came out and like what was happening in the game industry at that time, but it's also a time capsule for the players. Because for me, when I think of, like, for example, it's Resident Evil 4, it's my favorite game of all time, and when I think about that game, I think of like everything that game has gotten me through, and that's literally everything in my life. Whether we're talking about breakups back in middle school, high school, whether we're talking about the times that I got literally expelled from my school, and I was like, what the hell am I even gonna do now? Because I was, a bad kid. I got expelled multiple times, had to go to like, secondary schools and whatnot, or the times when, not to get too deep and personal here, but when I was living with my father for a very short amount of time back in 2010 after my parents got divorced. That was a very rough time, and is part of what made me develop post-traumatic stress disorder to begin with, along with like the rest of my childhood. And my, Resident Evil 4 was just always there for me through like everything like that, everything good and bad. For the good times, Resident Evil 4 was there. It was just, just good times, just me enjoying a great video game, making fun memories with that. But for the times when times were bad, Resident Evil 4 was also there to help me get through it and realize like, hey, I will get through this eventually, and there's still other worlds to be embraced and to get immersed in and to enjoy. And while yes, things may be shitty in real life, you know, things won't be shitty forever. And damn it, if Leon Kennedy can get through all this shit, if he can get tossed around by El Gigante, and if he can defeat Sadler and rescue the hot president's daughter and have this whole like will they won't they dynamic with one of the hottest Asian chicks in gaming, like damn it, if Leon Kennedy can do all that, then why can't I get through, you know, some shitty times, you know what I mean? TLDR, yeah, you're never too old to have fun, and just because you're getting older doesn't mean that, you know, it doesn't mean you're not allowed to have fun. And that's why I make so much content centered around like nostalgia, whether that be old music, old video games, etc. This, literally all of this right here, like this is exactly why. And then finally, the last story comes from, well, that's actually not the last story, because I'm actually going to share a gaming memory of mine at the end here too, but we'll go ahead and go through Tranks. So one of my, well, this is actually also Double T Game Hustle. His name in the server is Trank, but he's like Double T Game Hustle, you know, like YouTube and Instagram and all that. Go follow him. Go subscribe to his stuff. He's freaking awesome. It's my brother. One of my favorite gaming memories was when I was first introduced to COD Zombies in World of War. I never played COD before and went over to my neighbor's house. He introduced me to zombies and I fell in love with it. I never played anything like it before. We played for hours on end and had the best time. I'll never forget that because it really kicked off my love for FPS games in general. Man, I feel like a lot of people can relate to that sentiment right there. Like, dude, playing Call of Duty World of War Zombies for the first time was an absolutely mind-blowing experience. Not only did it come at the end of one of the best campaigns, one of the best first-person shooter campaigns, just stories in general in video game history, but it was also just a really fun mode in its own right, even though, yes, World of War was a little glitchy in some instances where, you know, you go to stab a zombie and you get, like, super glued into it with, like, the magnetism or whatever the hell is going on there. You get, like, suction cup into them. But then, yeah, all the amazing DLCs that came out after, and man, yeah, Call of Duty World of War is not just an amazing game, but also just introduced, obviously, like, you know, so much iconic stuff to the series, like zombies. Great stories from everyone in here, man. You guys did really good on this. This was super wholesome to read through. Now I'll go ahead and share my gaming memory. So this would have been back in like 2010, 2011 maybe. I was playing, actually, I'll go ahead and grab my copy just to really get the nostalgia flowing here, because this is my original copy from like 15 years ago. Spider-Man Web of Shadows Amazing Allies Edition for the PS2. So again, this would have been back in about 2010, 2011 or so, and I remember this was shortly after my parents got a divorce. It was one of the times that I was visiting my mom on the weekend, because basically my parents at the time had this arrangement where I could only see my mom every other weekend. So I'd be with my dad for like, you know, 2 weeks, and I'd go see my mom every other weekend. And I had a bunch of PS2 games in my mom's house, and I had like my memory card there, and you know, I wasn't really able to take games back and forth. So anytime I played a game in my mom's house, I was like all in on it, really trying to beat it. If I got stuck on something, I really wanted to beat it because I knew it'd be like 2 weeks till I could do it again. Well, I started up Spider-Man Web of Shadows Amazing Allies Edition, which is much different from, say, like the Xbox 360, PS3 Wii version of the game, which is like an open world action DMC style beat 'em up of sorts with like, you know, all these crazy combos and amazing story, multi-choice stuff and all that, which you do have multi-choice in here, but it's obviously a bit different because looking at some of the screenshots on the back, yeah, this is actually more of like a 2D side-scroller, not really platformer, but you know, like exploration beat-em-up type game. And I remember I got to the end of the first level, and there you fight Venom, very similar to, you know, the actual game where you fight Venom, except in this version of the game, you actually beat him, at least, you know, until the end of the game. I was so stuck on that part for the longest time, because at the time, you know, I was still a kid, I was pretty young. So I was like, you know, I was doing it, I was sitting there mashing all the buttons, I was like, how the hell am I supposed to do it? Because basically how the fight worked, it wasn't just like a normal, oh, you punch a few times, you block, whatever. No, this was a thing where like he basically had like this screen wipe attack, but it wasn't really like screen wipe, it was more like screen dot. So like the more that you were around him when this effect came on screen, the more damage you took, unless you were swinging in midair. And I didn't realize you just had to like swing in midair and just wait. I thought you had to keep punching him. I thought maybe you had to block, maybe you had to like swing kick him instead. It's funny, I tried swing kicking, but I didn't try just staying in place. So I was so stuck on this. And it got to a point, I called my grandma. Okay, my grandma, the same one that played nothing more than like Solitary and maybe Minesweeper on a really intense weekend, okay? I was like, do you think you can help me figure this boss fight out? I've been stuck on this thing for weeks, I can't figure it out. She was like, honey, I don't think I'd be able to do that. Like the most, because this was like 2010, so like the most she'd have played when it comes to like hardcore video games was Wii Sports Bowling. But bless my grandmother's heart, she was actually coming over to help me, like she finally caved, and she was like, okay, I'll come over tomorrow morning. And guess what? I actually ended up beating it literally 15 minutes before she got there. You can't make this up. Like, I finally figured it out. Finally figured out how to beat the boss, and it felt so good, man. I was stuck in that boss for weeks. I kept getting my ass kicked. I tried it time and time again. I spent hours on this boss, couldn't beat it. And then all of a sudden that morning I woke up, and all of a sudden I was just like a prodigy. You know, I was like the Tarnished. I was like the Elden Lord Tarnished, you know? I was like the Ashen one that ended up beating Soul Cinder. And then after that, it was smooth sailing. I ended up binging through the rest of the game, but I'll never forget the excitement in that moment, man. I just remember gripping the controller. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I was like jumping up and down. I was like, oh my gosh, I actually beat it. And then my grandma got there, and then I was like, I actually beat it. So at that point, she was, she was already there, so she ended up just, talking to my mom or whatever for like 30 minutes or something like that, and they just hung out while I continued to play my game. It's like, I had already beat the thing I was stuck on, but oh my goodness. Not only do I have a lot of nostalgia and love for this game in general, it's one I revisit a lot because it's available on both PS2 and PSP, so there's multiple ways to play it. So, I go back to it constantly just because I enjoy the game and there's a lot of nostalgia there, but also just that memory in general, man. Like, overcoming stuff as a kid, like, overcoming hard challenges in video games always feels good regardless of age. Like, even now, when I beat Millennia naked with a great sword, I feel like I'm on top of the world. Nothing can stop me. But every time I accomplish something like that, it always gives me that same sense of, like, inner childhood joy that I would have got back with something like this, you know what I mean? Now I guess it is time for me to pick a winner, so drum roll please. I'm going to say that What the Flip Man is the winner of this giveaway, man. Your story was just amazing, super heartfelt and everything. Don't get me wrong, everybody had amazing stories, but this is a giveaway, so I have to choose just one winner. So if I had to choose just one, that's the one that definitely got me right in the chest the most. That, that was a really good story. And again, if you guys want to be featured in, the next giveaway or just anything like this where I feature you guys on the channel, joining the Discord server, the best way to do it is free. There's, links in the description of every video, and I'll have it down in the pinned comments. You can just click that, join the server, and join our little grotesque family. But anyway, as always, massive shout out to all the patrons and channel members. Thank you to all of you in the low ball tier and any Uber shout out in the ball team, the last king, and me dad, the channel on detail run of a cheese girl. Thank you guys so much, guys, for Little Legends. I love you. Good on you, Dodaki, arigatou gozaimasu. Have an amazing day, stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.